The silent stars. The crystalline cities of Nelvar burned. Purple flames consumed spires that had stood for millennia, while in the skies above, the sleek obsidian ships of the Keth Dominion circled like patient predators. On the surface, crowds of Nelvari, slender beings with iridescent skin and 4 graceful arms, flood through streets littered with shattered crystal and fallen bodies. In the planetary communications hub, Director Lonnie pressed her palms against the console, all 4 of her arms trembling with exhaustion. For 6 days straight, she had coordinated the emergency broadcasts, sending desperate pleas across every frequency, to every known civilization. "Please," she whispered, her voice cracking as she recorded what might be their final message. "The Keth Dominion claims our world contains artifacts that threaten their religious doctrine. They systematically destroy our knowledge centers, our historical sites. We are a peaceful species. We have no weapons, no defenses. Our children are dying. Anyone, please help us." The message shot outward, carried by quantum relays to the furthest reaches of charted space. And the galaxy listened. On Thelos Prime, the Council of Evolutionary Excellence viewed the Nelvari broadcasts on their floating displays. "Unfortunate," said First Speaker Morethi, his silver skin reflecting the horrific images. "But interference would violate our doctrine of non-intervention in lesser conflicts." Besides, added another council member, the Keth Dominion controls 3 major trade routes. We cannot risk economic sanctions. The council voted unanimously to ignore the pleas and erase the transmissions from their archives. In the gleaming spires of the Consortium of Connected Minds, the unified consciousness of the Vex received the Nelvari distress call, analyzed it for 2.3 seconds, and filed it under irrelevant territorial disputes. The suffering of organic beings was categorized as inefficient but inevitable. Across 17 powerful civilizations, the pattern repeated. Some expressed regret, others calculated risk. All chose to look away. But in the farthest, most overlooked corner of the galaxy, on a blue-green planet considered primitive and volatile by galactic standards, the message found a different reception. Captain Maya Chen stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Defiant, watching the stars streak by through the viewscreen. The ship was the pride of the United Earth Fleet, though that wasn't saying much by galactic standards. Humans had only achieved faster-than-light travel 40 years ago, and the greater galactic community viewed them with a mixture of amusement and alarm. "Captain," called Lieutenant Park from the communication station, "we're receiving something strange, a distress signal, but not human." Chen walked over, her expression curious. "Play it." The bridge filled with Lonnie's desperate voice, automatically translated by their systems. Chen listened, her face hardening as the message continued. When it ended, silence fell across the bridge. "How old is this signal?" she asked quietly. 6 days, Captain," Park replied, "based on the quantum signature." "And no one has responded." Park tapped at his console. "Not according to the Galactic Communications Network. The signal is still repeating." Chen turned to her first officer, Commander Okafor. "What do we know about the Nelvari?" Okafor consulted her tablet. "Not much. Peaceful civilization, known for art and scientific theory. No military to speak of. They've had minimal contact with Earth. And the Keth Dominion. Religious fundamentalists with significant military power," Okafor said, her voice grim. "They control several key trading hubs. Most species avoid confrontation with them." Chen nodded slowly, then walked to the center of the bridge. The entire crew watched her, waiting. "Set course for Nelvar," she said. Okafor stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Captain, we should consult with Earth Command. This isn't our fight, and we're only one ship. If we wait for bureaucracy, there might not be anyone left to save," Chen replied. "Besides, we're on a diplomatic mission with broad discretionary powers. I'm exercising that discretion." She turned to the navigation officer. "Lieutenant Capper, how long at maximum burn?" 38 hours, Captain." Make it 36. Push the engines. Chen's eyes returned to the view screen, to the stars stretching before them. And send a message to the Nelvari. Tell them Earth has heard them. Tell them we're coming. On Nelvar, Lonnie had stopped believing anyone would come. The communications hub had been damaged in the latest bombardment, and she worked among sparking consoles and fallen debris. Most of her staff had fled or died. Only she and 2 others remained, sending their increasingly hopeless messages into the void. When Lieutenant Park's transmission arrived, Lonnie stared at the unfamiliar symbol, a blue circle showing a planet with swirling clouds. Earth, she whispered, the word foreign on her tongue. She had never heard of this world. Her colleague Viren looked up, exhaustion etched on his face. Who are they? I don't know, Lonnie admitted, but they say they're coming to help. Viren laughed bitterly. One unknown species. What can they possibly do against the Dominion? Above them, the ceiling groaned as another explosion rocked the city. The Defiant dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Nelvari system. On the view screen, the beautiful azure planet came into focus, as did the 12 Keth warships surrounding it. Tactical assessment, Chen ordered. Lieutenant Commander Rice, the tactical officer, didn't hide his grimace. Their ships outclass ours in both size and weaponry, Captain. Conservative estimate puts us at a 12-to-1 disadvantage. So not great odds, Chen said with a thin smile. No, ma'am. Chen nodded. Open a channel to the Keth fleet. Park worked his console. Channel open. This is Captain Maya Chen of the Earth vessel Defiant. We are responding to a distress call from the Nelvari people. We request that you cease hostilities immediately. For a long moment, there was no response. Then the view screen flickered, and a stern face appeared. The being had gray, leathery skin with intricate ridges across its skull and piercing yellow eyes. I am Warkeeper those of the Keth Dominion. The alien said, voice laced with disdain. Your presence here is unwelcome and unauthorized. The affairs of Nelvar are Dominion business. The systematic destruction of a peaceful civilization is everyone's business, Chen replied calmly. Dawes's ridges darkened with anger. The Nelvari harbor forbidden knowledge that threatens the sacred truth. Their punishment is just and necessary. He leaned closer to the screen. You have 1 hour to leave this system, Earth vessel. After that, we will consider you enemies of the Dominion. The transmission cut off. Well, that was encouraging, Okafor muttered. Chen turned to her crew. I need options. We can't outfight them. So we need to outthink them. We could try to evacuate key Nelvari personnel, suggested Reyes. It wouldn't save everyone, but the Nelvari population is over 2 billion, Okafor interrupted. Even if we took every person the Defiant could physically hold, it would be a drop in the ocean. What about reinforcements? Asked Park. Chen shook her head. Even if Earth Command agreed immediately, the nearest ship is 3 weeks away. The Galactic Union, then, Capper offered. If they knew what was happening. They already know, Chen said quietly. This distress call went out to everyone. They all chose to do nothing. Silence fell over the bridge again. Chen studied the tactical display, her mind racing. Lieutenant Park, can you still reach the Nelvari communications hub? Yes, Captain. They're operational, but barely. Connect me, and prepare a shuttle. Commander Okafor, you have the bridge. I'm going down there. Okafor's eyes widened. Captain, with all due respect. Respect noted, Chen said with a small smile. But we need to understand exactly what the Keth are after, and I need to see the situation firsthand. As the crew prepared the shuttle, Shen recorded a message to Earth Command, explaining her decision. She knew it might end her career, if she survived at all. But as she watched the burning planet grow larger through the shuttle viewport, she couldn't bring herself to regret her choice. The Defiant was just one ship. Humanity was just one species, young and untested among the stars. But they were here when no one else would come. Sometimes, That was enough. The human element. The shuttle descended through Nelvar's atmosphere, weaving through clouds of smoke and debris. In the pilot's seat, Lieutenant Reyes navigated with practiced precision, avoiding both the natural turbulence and the occasional Keth fighter that screamed past. Beside him, Captain Chen studied the city below. From orbit, the devastation had been abstract, data points, and tactical displays. Now, seeing the shattered crystal towers and crowds of refugees firsthand, the reality hit her with physical force. There, she said, pointing to a half-collapsed domed structure where a faint signal still pulsed. That's the communications hub. Reyes nodded and brought the shuttle down in a small plaza nearby. As they emerged, the air smelled of burning synthetics and something sweet, like caramelized sugar. Chen realized with horror that it might be the scent of burning Nelvari buildings, or worse, Nelvari themselves. Captain Chen, a voice called from the shadows of a fallen archway. Director Lani emerged, her iridescent skin dulled with ash, and her forearms held close to her body in what Chen recognized as a defensive posture. Behind her came two other Nelvari, watching the humans with a mixture of hope and suspicion. Director Lani, Chen said, stepping forward with her hands visible. I wish we were meeting under better circumstances. As do I, Lani replied, her voice melodic despite her obvious exhaustion. But circumstances aside, your presence alone is remarkable. No one else answered our call. We couldn't ignore it, Chen said simply. Now, I need to understand exactly what the Keth want and why they're doing this. Lani led them through the rubble into the communications hub, where emergency lighting cast eerie blue shadows across broken consoles and fallen ceiling panels. In the center of the room stood a cylindrical device, pulsing with soft light. This is what they want, Lani said, gesturing to the cylinder, or rather, what it contains. Which is, Reyes asked, a complete archive of our history and culture. But more importantly, it contains our astronomical surveys from the past 5,000 years. Lani's eyes, silver with flecks of gold, met Chen's, including detailed records of a stellar phenomenon that contradicts the Keth's religious doctrine. Chen frowned. They're destroying an entire civilization over a scientific disagreement. Their religion teaches that the universe was created perfect and unchanging, Lani explained. Our records prove that stars are born and die, that the galaxy itself changes and evolves. So they're not just after this archive, Chen said, understanding dawning. They want to erase the knowledge itself, the people who hold it. Lani nodded grimly. Exactly. Chen stared at the archive, mind racing. After a moment, she reached for her communicator, Chen to defiant. I need a secure connection to Earth Command, Priority Alpha, and start downloading everything from the Nelvari archives, encrypted with my personal codes. Captain, Lani asked, confusion evident in her voice. The Keth gave us 1 hour, Chen explained. That deadline passed 20 minutes ago. Soon, they'll come for your archive. And for my ship. I need to make sure both survive. In the darkness of space, the Defiant hung silent against the stars, its systems powered down to minimal levels. On the bridge, Commander Okafor watched the Keth warships with growing unease. Any word from the captain? She asked. Lieutenant Park shook his head. Not since she ordered the data download. The Keth are jamming most frequencies now. And the Keth. 2 warships have broken formation. They're moving toward our last position. Okafor nodded grimly. Maintain emissions control. Let them think we've run. Commander, Park said suddenly, I'm receiving a message. It's on the emergency channel from Earth Command. Okafor straightened. Let's hear it. The message was brief and unexpected. When it ended, a slow smile spread across Okafor's face. Well, she said, it seems Captain Chen has some very persuasive friends back home. On Nelvar, Chen had relocated with Lani, and the archive to an underground shelter where hundreds of Nelvari had taken refuge. Children with luminescent skin huddled against their parents, watching the human visitors with wide, curious eyes. "Your plan is unconventional," Lonnie said carefully after Chen explained her strategy. "Humans specialize in unconventional," Chen replied with a tight smile. "The Keth expect either surrender or direct confrontation. They won't expect this." A small Nelvari child approached Chen hesitantly, reaching out with one slender arm to touch her uniform. Chen smiled and knelt to the child's level. "Hello there," she said softly. The child spoke in a musical language, and Lonnie translated. "She asks if you came from the stars to save us." Chen looked into the child's silver eyes. "We came to help, and we're not the only ones." At that moment, her communicator chirped, "Captain, this is Okafor. You're going to want to see this." When Chen emerged from the shelter, the sky had changed. Where before there had been only Keth warships, now dozens of new vessels had appeared. Small, sleek ships much like the Defiant. Earth ships. Her communicator came alive with a familiar voice. "Captain Chen, this is Admiral Winters of the Earth Expeditionary Fleet. I understand you've gotten yourself into quite a situation." Chen couldn't keep the surprise from her voice. "Admiral, how?" "Your message to Earth Command was compelling, and it seems there are those in the Galactic Union who felt shame at their inaction once they knew humanity had answered the call." The Admiral's voice carried a note of pride. "We have representatives from 6 species with us, with more on the way. The Keth are being informed that Nelvar is now under joint protection." Around Chen, Nelvari were emerging from hiding, staring up at the sky with disbelief and dawning hope. "What about the archive?" Chen asked. "Safe," the Admiral replied, "and being transmitted to scientific institutions across the galaxy as we speak. The knowledge the Keth sought to destroy will now be impossible to erase." Later, as medical ships began landing and the immediate crisis stabilized, Chen found Lonnie standing amidst the ruins of what had once been a public garden. "Why did you come?" Lonnie asked quietly. "When species far more powerful and advanced chose to ignore us, why did Earth, a world we had never even heard of, risk everything?" Chen looked up at the stars, now dotted with the lights of ships from a dozen worlds. All arriving after humans had shown the way. "Because it was the right thing to do," she said simply. "And maybe because we still remember what it's like to be alone and afraid, calling out into the darkness." Lonnie's 4 hands performed a complex gesture that Chen's translator identified as profound gratitude. "The Keth teach that the universe is unchanging. I think today proves otherwise." "The universe changes," Chen agreed. "Sometimes all it takes is for someone to be first, to show that it's possible." Above them, more ships continued to arrive. Not just Earth vessels now, but ships from across the galaxy. Representatives of species who had initially turned away, but found their conscience after witnessing humanity's stand. In the days that followed, the story spread across the stars. How a single Earth ship had answered when all others refused. How humans, supposedly primitive and reckless, had shown the advanced species of the galaxy what courage truly meant. The Keth eventually retreated, unwilling to face the combined diplomatic and military pressure of the sudden alliance. Rebuilding began on Nelvar, with technology and assistance pouring in from worlds that had only days before chosen to ignore their plight. And in the Great Galactic Assembly, a motion was passed to create a new rapid response protocol for civilizations in distress. It was formally named the Interspecies Emergency Intervention Initiative. But across the stars, in the bars and gathering places where real people spoke honestly, it was known by a different name: the Human Protocol. Because sometimes the universe needs a reminder of what it means to be truly civilized. Sometimes it takes humanity, with all our beautiful imperfections, to teach the stars what matters most. They called us reckless, unpredictable, dangerous. They were right, and the galaxy is better for it.